Hello guys. So this episode is going to be a fuller dive into primitives as well as variables and moving variables, right? Variables that change. So let's jump into that and let's see if we can't have some like fun things that we get started. So let's make some primitives, right? So I remember, in the variables episode, I talked a little bit about primitives, and I said we would get into it. So let's start with this one. This one is called fill. And you remember in the last episode with the document setup, I was talking a little bit about color, right? And we changed the color mode for a very specific reason, so we had more control over the color. So let's say 0, 0, 0, 0. So this takes the same arguments. Just think about it as the same arguments as background. It takes the same arguments as anything that needs a color. So it needs a hue, saturation, and brightness. But you see I typed another 0 in there. And that last 0 is going to be our alpha. So when it comes to background, alpha doesn't really work that well. It depends on what you're trying to do. It depends on what you're trying to do with it. But alpha is probably not the best call. But when it comes to having a fill for something else, then it's a better move. So now if I put in arguments, right? Let's say we wanted to do this. Let's just copy this, right? Because you know what it does now. We're just gonna copy this and we're just going to plug in. So that alpha is opacity, transparency, and how much you can see of the fill. So what this fill primitive is going to do, we're going to take another primitive function like a rectangle, like that we had in our variable episode, and we're going to fill in that box. We're going to fill in that box with whatever color we set right now. So let's, for right now, set this to 0.5 because this value goes from 0 to 1, I believe. And let's hit play, and we don't have anything. Why? Because it has nothing to fill. So there is an order to it. I'm not sure if this would work. I don't think you can put fill above background because background itself takes a color. But I think, if I remember correctly, you put the fill over the primitive, and that is how it's going to imprint the color on top of it. So let's try rect 50, 50, 50, 50, right? So this is the same thing, right? This is the same thing that we did in the variables episode. This is how you, This is how you set a rectangle with a color. And now we have that same color, right? But the opacity is a little different. So let's tweak this color and make it red, right? So now we have a transparent red box. Now if I change this to 1, it's going to be fully colored. And if I change this to 0, it's going to be fully transparent, right? So that's how you have different colors for different primitives. So let's keep playing with it, and let's make 3 for right now. Let's do 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, and that's going to give us a black color. And let's do rect 100, 100, because that's setting the X position and the Y position on the canvas. And let's do 50, 50, right? And now that is our size for that. And let's do another one. And this one is going to be blue. So we're going to do something like 180, 75, 51, because we want that same type of color scheme. And we'll do another rectangle at 200, 200, 50, 50, right? So the 50, 50 is going to be our size. So you see that's at 100, 100, 200, 200, and it's just going to keep scaling in that way, right? If we kept doubling it, this one would be somewhere out here, right? So now we have our 3 things, but if you notice, right, let's use our control find, right? It's the same thing as going to, edit find, the thing we talked about in the first episode, and let's find 50. And you see we have 50 for the width and the height for each of these rectangles. That's repetitive. So every time we would have to type in a rectangle, we would have to type in 50 each time. But if you remember, there's a way that we can make this a little easier. So let's say this. Let's let rect width equal 50. And let's get rid of fine. This is just to highlight it. Rect width equals 50. So you can probably already guess where I'm going to put that. But something that you might notice now is this thing that's called Camel Case. Camel Case, let's do it down here, is just saying I'm going to type lowercase first for the first word, right? And then for the second word, it's going to be uppercase. That is called Camel Case. That's used in like a lot of programming, right? Camel Case. So let's say, what is it? Pencil draw, right? Like pencil draw feet, right? So if you type that in, that's the camel case, kind of like the way that a camel has humps. So the first concept, right? Whatever concept you want to employ, because now we're creating the logic by making variables. You're saying like what the thing is, right? Whatever concept you want to make, that's how you would separate like the words, right? The words inside the concept. So that way it's a little easier to understand as opposed to everything being lowercase, right? And sometimes it is case sensitive for certain primitives, right? Sometimes like certain functions or certain places need you to do like lowercase first. Sometimes they need you to do uppercase first. But generally this will be, for a large percentage of the time, it'll be lowercase, uppercase, 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 and like however many you do after. So that's camel case. And what is it? So let's do let rect height, right? So now we're setting a height value that can be used throughout all three of these. And if we ever want to change it, we would just change it up here, right? We could just change it up here. So let's say, let's copy this, right? So to copy, I'm just double clicking, right? And I'm hitting Control C. And then let's rect width, and then let's just paste it into our width, right? Because this is, let's look at the reference just so you have a clear understanding of what rect is. Again, let's just type here, right? And rect takes arguments. It's x, y, width, height. So x, y, width, height, right? So that's what I'm plugging in, and that's the coordinates for this. So now we have rect width, and nothing should change, all right? So let's do the same for rect height. Let's get it in, double click, and to paste it, to copy and paste, I hit Control C, and then I hit Control V, right? And that pastes it. So that's how I'm like copy and pasting so fast. So now let's see, we got some stuff. We got some stuff moving, right? We've got some stuff in a good position. But let's say I wanted to do, let's see, what do we want to do next? There was something else I wanted to show you. Well, first things first, let's do a growth variable. A growth variable. I think this will be a fun one. And we will say growth plus equal, what is it? Actually, let's do rect width plus equal growth, rect height plus equal growth, right? So that does nothing right now. It just does nothing. It does nothing because there's no such thing as growth. But let's define growth here. Let's say it's equal to 1. And you kind of already know what this is going to do based on the other tutorial variables, but stay with me. Right, so there's so many different ways that we can like iterate and start to animate in P5 and with code. And like this is a very simple one, and this is just going to grow infinitely. Well, it should grow infinitely. Actually, I think it is still growing. These are just the points. So let's stop that. And let's keep this going. And you know, just with any of these things, this is not a word, this is a value. It's not a word, this is a value. So what I can do is I can hit divides by 2 and divided by 2, and that's going to slow down this 1, and it's just going to change this 1 to 0.5, right? So now it's a little slower. If I did divided by 4, it'd be even slower. Let's say we take away one of them, it's not going to be even anymore, and now we can really start to iterate animation in this way. So let's leave that like that for right now. And I want to tell you about this other primitive, well, I guess it's more of a primitive variable called width and height. Width and height, like that, it's just, here, I'll show you. Width and height, right? So this, in this create canvas, the width is 640 and the height is 480. This references that, right? So you don't always have to type in 480, you can type in height, and that means you can also get a lot more control. So let's say I wanted to center my rectangle. I would do height divided by 2, right? So that's gonna put it in the center of this, which is 240. It's gonna put it at 240. I would do width divided by 2, and that's gonna put it at the center. So now one of them should start at the center. You see this red one started at the center? Now, I'm gonna comment this out, right? Because I don't want this, I don't want to do this right now. I don't want to do the rect width and the growth stuff right now. So let's comment this out. And to do that, I hit Control/, right? So let's play. So now it's stopped. And now we can have a little bit more, visual clarity. So this is moved to the center, and we can do the same just by copying and pasting to the center. And now everything is just going to be in the center. So we just do that. Boom, boom. Everything is on top of each other and it's in the center, right? So that's one of those, similar to HSB and similar to like width and height. That's the same type of thing, right? And we can always check the reference if we have like questions about it. But here's another fun thing that we can do. Let's say, how do I want to do this? Let's say that we want to move it based on the mouse position. Let's say we wanted to have these rectangles, right? These rectangle primitives follow the mouse position. Let's do this. Mouse X, mouse Y. And let's, just for clarity's sake, I'm just gonna comment these out, right? I'm just gonna hit Control/ just to comment these out. So now this code is not running, right? It's just chilling. This code is what we're focused on. So now we got this following this. So you can see like how you can start to see how basic animations and going into more of a game development context, this could start to like grow, right? These concepts start to build on each other, and it's like, okay, well, what if I wanted this to collect dots and eat it and like grow and have like a meter or a counter that ticks up? We're going to do like as much of that as possible, right? But let's stop this here for right now. And I think that's all I wanted to touch on for this. We're going to start getting a little bit more intermediate. Like there are a couple things that I want to introduce so we can start having a little bit more fun. I know like these first few episodes are slow just because I do want to take it slow, so that way it's not overwhelming when we start like just typing stuff out, and it's just super quick. So thank you guys, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.
Now, tonight's adventure into the unknown, into the world of...
Hold on to your I love you for it.
I love you too.